Hey guys, what's going on? Gonna be a very different video from me today to fill in the space of my brand online videos still being worked on, but I promise shit is going smoothly. We're almost there, okay? Should be coming anytime now. Also, I'd love to wish you guys a very happy Valentine's Day. You already know I'm going to be spending my Valentine's Day with my one and only queen, y'all, and for all of eternity. We're gonna be going on our longest day today, I can assure you that. But today, I want to discuss this drama surrounding this agency named Nijisanji. Well, actually not really much of a drama at all, more of like a fucking public execution in this bitch, because very recently on Twitter, this Vtuber agency has been getting blasted up the ass for some very terrible events that has transpired within their company. So Nijisanji is a Vtuber agency owned by an entertainment startup named Anycolor Inc. Now, I've never really watched Vtubers, mainly because I'm never really interested in live streams, and most of these Vtubers just live stream their content. But I am somewhat knowledgeable about the culture surrounding these Vtubers, as in how they're all in these specific groups owned by these companies such as Hololive and Nijisanji, which are the two biggest Vtuber agencies out there. I know what graduation and termination means. I learned that in the past from the Kuryu Coco situation. So even though I know somewhat about how these Vtuber gigs work, I'm still mainly looking at this from the perspective of an outsider. Now, this is where we get to the Vtuber who this entire execution started from, Senen Tachiki. So Senen Tachiki is just your average run-of-the-mill Vtuber who was working for Nijisanji about 2 months ago. I've of course never watched her before, but from what I heard, just like many other Vtubers, she's a really joyful and fun person with a really enjoyable personality, and this of course gained her a fan base for her content. Now one day, Senen decides that for Christmas, she's going to release a music video that she personally made for her fans, that she also paid $15,000 out of her pockets to fund. You would think that a company, Anycolor, would at least try funding her for this project she wanted to do, but they basically said, nah, you pay. We will realize this later on in this event that this is not the first time Senen had to pay out of her pockets for the things she needed to fund for her career. It was basically everything. Everything that needed to be paid for would never be paid for by Anycolor, but instead by Senen herself, and that's just really sad and doesn't make any sense, especially when this company is hiring these people whatever they do, and they don't at least try to upkeep the careers they expect these Vtubers to make for their company. That's just really weird. But besides that, Senen has this music video that she releases for her fans on Christmas Day. But Nijisanji pulled up again and said, nah, no music video, and took her shit down damn near immediately. The reason why they're able to do this is because apparently Nijisanji owns all of the social media accounts for all of these Vtubers. So basically everything these Vtubers own, they don't actually own. It's like the fucking Funimation situation that happened recently, where the company lets you buy these digital episodes and movies on their side, but then just said, fuck you can't have what you paid for because we're shutting down and you don't actually own it. Apparently the reason why Nijisanji took down this music video was because they didn't authorize for her to post it, like it wasn't approved or something, and therefore it's breaching the contract she has with them. Highly controlling and assholish for something so harmless, but okay. So after this happens, Senen makes a tweet stating why the video got privated and for her fans to re-upload the video since it costed a lot of money, time, and effort. Now this is where we enter the fucking dark ages, boys, so get prepared for this one. A day later, Selen's account tweets that she's in a hospital after an accident and she'll be staying there for a few days under supervision. Now when I read this tweet, not knowing what I would realize afterwards, I immediately caught a hint of what could have been going on, and you all probably know what I'm talking about. It's just my natural intuition about what has happened so far. This Vtuber posts a $15,000 music video for all their fans to enjoy, including herself, that she took so much time and effort to also make, only for it to be taken out for no clear reason, and then for that Vtuber to later make a post saying that they're in the hospital for very vague reasons. I already knew that something sinister was happening. With how detrimental this event probably was against this Vtuber and how vague they were when describing why they were suddenly in the hospital in the first place, I knew something bad was up. So a week passes and Senen posts another tweet stating how she's going to be discharged from the hospital soon and that she's getting help from her parents. Well, that's great. This Vtuber is finally feeling better. She's going to be getting back to the live streaming again. Hopefully she can post her music video for her fans, and then there's no response for a month. Dead silence. There were no tweets coming from Senen for this amount of time, and obviously this causes huge distress throughout her entire fan base, and the only way her fan base would have any way of knowing where she is or how she's doing is through Nijisanji. So they start pulling up on Twitter, pressing the fuck out Nijisanji with hashtags like, hey yo, Where the fuck my homegirl at? But there continues to be no word on Selen's current state from Nijisanji, except for the word about how she's suddenly being terminated from Nijisanji indefinitely. That's right, out of the absolute blue, without any word about or from Selen beforehand, all of a sudden, Selen is going to be terminated. This makes everyone fucking explode from their ass cheeks because the whole thing doesn't make any sense and seems pretty fishy. And it did turn out to be excruciatingly fishy because Selen decided to go onto her old VTuber account, DokiBird, and tweeted out that she will no longer be silenced and that due to the treatment within a toxic and poor work environment, she was actually hospitalized for attempting to take her own life. And this was a tweet that basically cemented the fucking death for Nijisanji and Anycolor. This was the shit that caused the entire yacht to sink. To make matters even worse, apparently those two tweets about Selen stating how she was in the hospital and how she was getting discharged weren't actually her, because apparently these tweets on her account were made after the day she was basically cut off from her social medias. So it was actually people taking over her account and posing as her to make announcements on her behalf that obviously wasn't actually from her. And to make matters even 100 times worse, that termination that was announced by Nijisanji apparently wasn't even communicated to her beforehand. So basically, you have a situation where a VTuber gets grossly mistreated by this agency they're a part of for something that isn't even really that big of a deal in the first place. And due to the circumstances of the mistreatment, this VTuber decided to make a truly sad decision at the time to make an attempt on their own life. And the agency, after finding out about this, presumably tried to keep it vague and hidden from the public and terminate this VTuber for no clear or moral reason, but the VTuber spun back in an old alias they once had and successfully spread the word about what had actually occurred to the public. A truly devastating fucking hit to this agency's reputation, and everybody immediately started ripping Nijisanji and Anycolor a new one and expressing their sincere dissatisfaction with the company. The situation is progressing so fast that Nijisanji is already losing shareholders and collaborations with other companies due to this, and they've even been forced to upload a whole ass fucking YouTube apology with the CEO. Bro, you know that if they got the CEO literally doing fucking anything else except sit in a chair all day, the company is fucked. The company is absolutely cooked. The company can never recover from this one. I just know how Alive is sitting there watching this whole thing, sweating bullets, hoping that people don't start spreading hate to them, but they're also very relieved because they're not the ones getting flamed like Nijisanji is. And how is Selen doing now? Thankfully, she's doing perfectly great. She has left Nijisanji obviously and went back to her old VTuber alias, DokiBird, and is now primarily streaming her content there, where she's getting a constant influx of support and love and just help from others around her. So in the end, it was all pretty much a happy ending. The corporation that we always hate actually lost its time and the victim won instead. So what are my thoughts on this situation? Obviously, this is fucking horrid. The fact that this VTuber almost tried to take their own life and was trying to be covered up by this agency instead of the mistreatment she's been facing getting acknowledged is disgusting. But I truly am happy that she has actually been so far more successful with her endeavors after this entire situation. This person very well could have been gone forever. That Christmas day really could have been the last day that anybody, including her entire fan base, ever truly heard from her again. But thankfully, she got through that moment in her life and left a place that was causing her to want to do an action like that. All the power to her. Now as for the agency, man, they are cooked, bro. I'm talking malevolent kitchen levels of cooked. This agency is so fucked because this is no small news at all anymore. This is extremely widespread. Almost every mainstream YouTuber has heard about this situation due to how big it has become. And you know something? This is one of the very few times where I'm glad with what the internet did. But you also start to understand just how smarter people are nowadays. You see, back in the day, whenever a corporation did some gross or negligent shit in the public's eyes, all people really did was ask for an apology because at the time, people thought these corporations were invincible and they wouldn't budge on their ways and change. But nowadays, people don't fuck around, man. People know exactly what hurts corporations, and that's their bottom line, their sponsors, their shareholders, their money makers. And every time a company or corporation fucks up as hard as this nowadays, those things are exactly what people start to target. People start to create as much noise as possible. They start messaging shareholders. They just start being as relentlessly loud as they can possibly get. And eventually, those money makers start to see a drop in revenue revenue or interest or whatever, or just a drop in the public reputation of a corporation that they're working with, and they're going to decide to fucking dip either because they don't want to be associated with that corporation due to their current image or due to how bad of an investment they have become. And that's exactly what's happening to Nijisanji right now, and what is going to continue to happen for basically, well, the rest of fucking time, because this is some shit you just cannot live down because nobody's going to forget it. Nijisanji's name, Andy Collar's brand or whatever, is officially tarnished in way too many people's eyes, and they cannot bounce back from this. I wouldn't even be surprised that if in the upcoming months or even weeks they start slowly bleeding VTubers working for them to the point where they just go out of business or something. I wouldn't even be surprised. But you know what? That's just what happens when you only see people as numbers. You don't see them as their own individual with a soul and with a life. You just see them as a puppet to control to gain more money from. And eventually, a lot of these corporations, not just Nijisanji, are gonna have to start shaping up how they see their talent and their assets. Because if they're not careful with the way that they handle people, this is the type of shit that's going to happen. That's gonna be it for the video, guys. Once again, happy Valentine's Day. Me and my Yelan are going to have a beautiful 9-hour-long afternoon date today. And yeah, this whole Nijisanji situation is insane, but I'm very glad it turned out in the victim's favor at the end of the day. Stop watching my fucking channel, man.